You're supposed to go down to Congress and piss off some people, get into an argument, have a debate, and actually come up with a solution. That's the point of it. The point is to go down there and get the job done, not to kowtow and maintain political balances and power bases, because that gets the gridlock we have right now. That's why Congress has an 8% approval rating, because they're not doing their job. Okay. And more importantly, you know what? Go on to the floor of Congress. This is what we should have our representatives do. Get onto the floor of Congress. You have an hour free to say whatever you want. You get minutes here and there to say whatever it is you want. Talk about what your constituents want. Offer their solutions. Because I guarantee you, the men and women in Congress who are good people, I'm not saying they're not good people, but they don't have all the ideas. They're just people, just like you and I are. Before they were elected, they were just a guy on the street or a woman on the street. And now that because they're in Congress, that doesn't make them nobility. They didn't get smarter because they walked into Congress. They still don't have all the answers. I have almost 770,000 people in this district. I listen to that group of people. I'm pretty sure we can find answers to some of the problems out there because 445 people in Congress aren't finding them. Well, number says. Oh, go ahead.
Well said. We're talking tonight with Michael Vasquez, who is running in the 22nd Congressional District of New York. He's one of those little whippersnappers, you know, the extremists like myself who believes that Congress should operate and that there actually should be an opposition party. I know that that's a nuance in today's political environment, but nevertheless, in order for government to work, there should be less of it, and it should be most certainly representing that of the people. Mr. Vasquez, there are a number of issues that your area has been facing, and I just want to bring this up. I know a lot of people in New York are Democrat, but there was one woman who traveled from Arkansas to New York to become a senator, and I like the reference to the fact that you are a homeowner there. And she bought her home up in your particular congressional district, as far as I know. Later went on to become Secretary of State and also ran for presidency and is considering that as well. How do you reach across the aisle to those who are Democrat who want socialized medicine, who want socialized housing, who want socialized policy in marriage equality, things of that nature? How do you reach across the aisles and make it work here in Washington, D.C.?
Well, let's start with common sense. Let's think about Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act, whatever name people want to put to it. When Obamacare was first being formulated, absolutely no one had any idea what was in that law. No one. In fact, I believe it was it Conyers out of South Carolina, or I forget. It's on YouTube. He actually said, you know what? I'm not reading this bill. It would take 3 days and 2 lawyers. That's all. It's on YouTube. He said that. We have Nancy Pelosi telling us, just pass the law. Don't worry. We'll find out what's in it. Well, let's actually deal with some common sense. What's the biggest problem with Obamacare? How do you get the other side to listen to you? It doesn't do what you're asking it to do. It doesn't lower the cost of health care. It's not supposed to. It's catastrophic health care. But if you want to lower actual costs, how about we address the number one factor increasing cost of health care, and that's frivolous lawsuits. How about we address another issue, interstate competition. If Alaska has a policy that is qualified for New York State, will save me money, why can't I buy it? I have yet to hear a single Democrat answer that question, either of those issues. Why aren't they part of Obamacare? Why are they not part of health care reform, since those are two of the biggest problems for the issue? We talk about those things. And if you get the other side to say, okay, well, no, let me give and take. Let's talk about this. Okay, I'll give you frivolous lawsuits. Let's get rid of those or cap them. Okay, and then we make sure that insurers can't kick someone off because of pre-existing condition. I can agree with that. So can my constituents. We can come to a middle ground. But the first thing is to read the bills and understand what's going on. There's your middle ground.
Exactly. Is there room? Let me just get this question here. It looks like there's going to be a bailout of the insurance companies come March 2014. Because there's no doggone way you're going to get enough young people to register, especially when you only have to pay $95 of a fee. Come on, $95 versus $1,200 in a year. I'll take the $95 fee, Alex Trebek. They're not enrolling in this. So the bottom line is, do the people in the good state of New York want to bail out the insurance companies one more time on this facade, or are they willing to vote for a repeal? Your thoughts, because you're right there on the ground.
Well, I can tell you that no one wanted to bail out the banks. They didn't want to bail out the auto industry, and I'm sure they don't want to bail out insurance companies. They never wanted that, and I don't see that they're going to change their mind on it. Now, and there's good reason for that, because private industry can survive on its own, and they can do well, and sometimes they fail, and then you get better things from the ashes of what failed. And most people understand that. Congress and government being separate of that. But I think that most people, what they really want to see is they want to see the ability to help other people without having it rammed down their throat, because that's not charity. That's just the deal.
Listen, there are doctors that are peeling out of medical plans. And going into January 1, there are hospitals across the country that don't even know if they're participating in Obamacare or not. So virtually individuals who have been receiving expensive medical care for expensive illnesses like cancer, stroke, heart attack, and other such illnesses and diseases, may find themselves in a situation where even if they did have coverage that took care of pre-existing conditions, they can't go see their doctor. That is a catastrophe.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. This law has so many hidden twists to it because let's think about it. It was something that was a partisan idea that was rammed through on procedures and maneuvers against the will of the public. The public across the nation, and at every poll that I'm aware of, have always been against Obamacare since June of 2009. No one's ever wanted this. And for every objection and question that Republicans have brought up and conservatives have brought up about what it could fail at, we were told, no, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. Only to find out Democrats knew about it. Senator Gillibrand of New York admitted it on ABC News. They knew that the people were going to get canceled. They knew that costs were going to go up. What else did they know? What other problem that's going to come down the road, and I can think of several, that they haven't told people about yet?
Tonight we're talking with Michael Vasquez, who is running in the 22nd Congressional District of New York. Unfortunately, we are just running out of time. It always seems to happen this way. We have a few more moments. It does. I mean, when you got very good candidates up here who are holding their own, rather than the whippersnappers who are in Washington, D.C., who are giving you the two-step answers or the answers that the speaker told them to recite. You have a passion, and I thank God for your service to this country. Going along the lines of the military, you are going to suffer as a result of what the Speaker was unable to do by turning over the power of the purse to the U.S. Senate in the last budget fiasco. Military personnel, at least veterans and disabled veterans, are losing up to $124,000 off of their retirement. What are your thoughts about that, sir?
Okay, my father was a Vietnam vet, and he suffered from Agent Orange. It's a very important issue to me, what happens to the vets. These are people who have put their life on the line. They have made the ultimate sacrifices in some cases because our nation asked them to. And they did that voluntarily. We owe them. We owe them the ability to be able to live the rest of their lives with some comfort. Not to give them everything, but to make sure that if they've been injured in the line of duty, to take care of them. And that if they've put 20 years of their life on the line defending us and making sure we have our freedoms, that we can give them a little peace of mind in knowing that their retirement's going to be okay. I don't think that's a lot to ask for, considering what we asked of them. And I am really upset anyone would ever compromise that. There are 1,001 different things we can cut and trim down and need to save the. We're not even helping the debt. The debt's still going to hit somewhere between $20 to $26 trillion in the next 2.5 years, depending on interest rates. And they're talking about we saved money. No, you didn't. $60 billion, that's not saving money. That's not even the interest rate, interest we're going to pay in a year. You didn't save anything. You saved future spending. Well, I can't spend future spending. You know, that's just a funny way of saying we spent a lot more money, but we didn't spend it all.
Exactly.
And to do that on the backs of the people who are protecting us, that's an insult. And I disagree with that massively. I'm very upset about that.
And listen, I have veterans in my own family who couldn't believe. I mean, you heard about it and you thought it was just another threat. Let's see what we can get out of this deal, because the military has been used often under this administration as a demonized pig to get the pork that they want out of the deals regarding the budget. But this is it's just a holy, or at least an unholy decision that was made by this particular Congress, and it should be corrected. I remember Senator Jeff Sessions trying to work on a deal at the very last minute, and you had 14 Republicans that voted against him. Is that the type of commitment from the GOP that's going to save this country? And if not, what can you do that would be different?
Well, I believe that if we actually hold these representatives in Congress right now accountable for their actions, if people actually say, okay, this is what you voted on, I don't believe that. I don't agree with taking money away from our veterans. I don't agree with flip-flopping on abortion or immigration or a host of other issues. And we hold them accountable, I guarantee you Congress will change. If nothing else, because they're terrified to lose their positions of power. They are a modern nobility class that were elected into this artificial higher level than everyone else. And if you threaten that, they'll change, just if for no other reason, just because they selfishly want to maintain their own power. And if that's the only reason we can get them to act, let's get them to act. But I think that when you actually step up and say, okay, this is not helping, we haven't helped the nation in the long term, and we're not helping our veterans in the short or long term, and you actually make that statement on the floor of Congress, you'll see people change. Someone just needs to be bold enough to step on the floor of Congress and say it, and I'll do that.